I can't make it to training that day because my period pains are so bad, I wouldn't tell my coach that because I've kind of been conditioned to think that that's not a conversation I should have with him. Hi, I'm Jazz. I am a long jumper. When I'm not being an athlete, I'm a reader, I'm a singer, and I'm a seamstress.
My name is Zadrazil. I'm a footballer from the Austrian national team and FC Bayern Munich, and I come from a really beautiful small village in Austria.
Hi, I'm Michelle Coleman. I swim. I absolutely love being in the water, and I have since I was a kid.
I personally can't remember a time where I wasn't training to compete in something in sport. I started gymnastics when I was 3 years old, but as soon as I started that, I wanted to compete, I wanted to win.
I started playing football when I was 5 years old, actually, because my brother used to play football and my dad was a coach in our small club in my village. That's why I started, and it has been sticking with me forever. So yeah, for 25 years now, which is a very long time.
For me also, when I was younger and I was in high school, swimming was really like an escape, because I had a really tough time in high school being quite bullied and having like a really tough social environment in school. Getting away from that, meeting new people, having friends and feeling like I belonged somewhere, that was really important.
When I'm on the pitch and when I play football, it's just an amazing feeling because it's my passion. It's a team sport, so for me football also means a lot of social interaction, so I'm super grateful that I can be on the pitch every day and do what I love most.
Getting my first period was kind of a weird experience. I think I kept a lot of things in my life during that time very secretive. How I feel, what happened, everything was like, I just kept it to myself, kind of. And the same with my period. Like when I got my first period, I didn't tell my family. I secretly, I threw away my pants, went out with the trash, which I never did. I took a bike down to the city to buy tampons and all of that stuff.
I remember my first period, I think I just had to talk to my mom about it, and she kind of had to explain what's going on and what's happening, so it wasn't the education in school, it was more my family who helped me.
Sex ed classes weren't amazing at school. You know what your period is, but the effects on the body and how it might feel, or those conversations that I had maybe when I was 23 to 27. I wish I had those conversations when I was 13 to 15, understanding more of like the hormonal play and what that mattered.
At school, I was taught about that stuff by separating the boys and girls. And so, if you're a young teenager, potentially prior to that, you're 10 or 11, and they say, oh, well, we need to take the boys out of the room to talk about this. That message to me is, okay, I can't talk to boys about this, and let alone talk to a man about this. I'm 14 years old. I can't make it to training that day because my period pains are so bad. I wouldn't tell my coach that because I've kind of been conditioned to think that that's not a conversation I should have with him. But I had to consciously unlearn those things. In the years that followed, I got a lot of mixed messages about what was okay, what was normal, what wasn't. Learning about how my period actually affected me and what kinds of things I should seek more help for, that I had to figure out myself.
If I look back, I didn't really have a coach or someone who actually helped me with this regard. So I basically just had to learn by myself and maybe talk to teammates how they do it, what helps them to grow, what helps them to use the cycle as an advantage sometimes when it comes to training. I also wish it wouldn't have been such a big taboo to talk about it, and it should just be normal to talk about your cycle and talk about your period and how you're feeling and how it might affect you.
When I was younger, I had a much harder time speaking to coaches about things that I didn't deem to be related to sport. And that even includes things that so clearly were related to sport, like about my period, for example, with my coaches. I felt like that was something that I just couldn't talk about.
Not all coaches are women, and we still have men in coaching roles, and I think they should be educated as well. And it should be a big topic that they have to take into consideration when coaching women or girls. To learn more about the physical side of me, I think it comes with experience. It's not something you just have when you start playing and when you become a professional. It's like, okay, I know how my body works, how my body functions, what my body needs. It's more you learn over time. And obviously it always helps if you have a support system behind you in the club team or with the national team. The first conversation I had with my coach about my period was actually at the club, that our athletic coach approached us as a team and was like just saying, hey, we're tracking your periods, we're taking it into consideration, so let me know when your last period was. And I think that's what made it easy for me as well to talk about it, because I was like, oh, that's interesting, I've never heard about this, and it's good that they asked. So I think it's easier that way around if coaches approach you instead of you having to go there and open up about a topic you might not feel as comfortable with, even though you should.
I had one particularly special coach. I think the reason he was such a good coach is he made the effort to know his athletes as people more than just as athletes. The way that he spoke to me about training was tailored to me as an individual. If I wasn't doing other things and had big other things to focus on, then I'd be unhappy. And if I was unhappy, I wouldn't be performing well. So anything that affects me affects my sport. And that's something that I think I've had to learn.
As an individual learning about my menstrual cycle, I would definitely say I've taken a lot of help from my friends. It took me a long time before I figured out how was my natural cycle, you know, without being on a contraceptive or that kind of thing, just figuring out what a natural cycle for me is, what's my normal state.
I'm seeing a trend where coaches are understanding that having an understanding of the menstrual cycle means they have a better understanding of their athletes, a better understanding of the way they can train, the way they can compete, and how they can help. So what I would say to anybody who is already a coach or who wants to be a coach, knowing even just the absolute basics of how the menstrual cycle can really affect your athletes will make you a better coach and will enable you to get more out of your athletes.
When I'm on my period, it affects me physically. I feel a little bit more tired, a little bit more fatigue. I also have cramps. So for me, it's always the first 2 days who are a little bit tough, where I just try to have to get through them because I know it will get better afterwards. It doesn't affect my performance by itself. It just affects how I feel at this moment. But I've also had great games while I was on my period because I'm still able to perform 100%. It shouldn't be a reason to drop out of sports, because exercising, for me personally, also helps me during my period because it makes me feel better. But for me, it's more about trying out things. So if it's change your diet a little bit around that area, drink more water around that time. And I feel like the best thing to do is focus on your experiences and figure out what helps you best to perform the best while on your period or in which phase of your cycle you're in.
The thing is, I don't really adapt my training today to my cycle. It's more that I understand my training results regarding to my cycle. But then at the same time, I do listen to my body, and if I do maybe things in gym, I would adapt. If I have a hard training session, I don't kick myself about it. I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna move on. And if I feel sad, I'm sad. You know, you kind of just have to have that mentality to it. It is important to listen to the body and how you feel, but don't let your body limit you in ways that you want to grow personally. I think that's really important to not let your physical capabilities limit your dreams in that way.
It should be okay to raise issues even towards your coaching staff, but it goes the other way around. Coaches should be way more aware, and they should probably approach young girls or women even more to open up and talk about it, because it is an issue in sports and it affects your performance. I would also want the sports industry to make information more accessible for everyone in the world, and just to give out better education on this topic, not just for young girls, but for everyone. And I would want the sports industry to actually reconsider the whole white shorts topic in my area of my sport, because we still have to play or even train in white shorts, and it does affect us, and it should be something that should be changed.
Listen into your body and try and actually track whatever's happening to understand why you feel like you feel, and allow yourself the time to learn. Don't expect to have results straight away. It's going to take time to learn your body and why it works in the way it works.
There is a place for you in sport. There's a place for everybody having periods in sport, and having painful periods, having difficult to manage periods isn't the end of sport for you. And that doesn't have to be you doing it to an elite level. Not everybody wants, needs, or should be an elite athlete, but sport in some way is for everybody. And it would be a real shame to see you drop out of sport and to lose that lifelong connection to something wonderful because of your period. You can manage it. It might take a little effort. Things are getting better, but it's doable.